Gauteng has been placed on a provincial state of disaster following torrential rain, hailstorms and flooding, which resulted in the loss of life and extensive damage to property. Now, the storms left municipalities such as the City of Joburg struggling to deal with the fallout. Now, the state of disaster will be in effect from the 23rd of January and will continue until such time as authorities deem the disaster over the regulated period lapses. Well, to give us more detail on this now, when we're joined by the MEC Khumalo, responsible for cooperative governance in the province. Mr. Khumalo, thank you very much for your time. Let's start with why the late declaration. Some people will be confused because the floods happened in December. That does not mean that the rebuilding of people's homes is done. But I suppose people will say it's very hot at the moment and they are unsure why a state of disaster would be declared so late in the day.
Good morning, Toli, and good morning to your viewers. Thank you for the opportunity for us to come and clarify the issue that you're raising. The first thing that I want to clarify is the state of declaring the disaster. Disaster is not yet being declared. What happened is after the floods that damaged properties of people, that damaged our roads in all the 5 regions of our province, the administrative process in according to the Disaster Management Act then took place in the province. What that required us to do in the province was to quantify the extent of the damage and say what is it that we want a disaster to be declared on. So ours was to fix all the damages that has happened in the province. So our officials quantified that, submitted that to the National Disaster Management Center. The National Disaster Management Center then has a task to verify the information that is submitted by the province to them. That verification was done, and the Disaster Management Center came to a conclusion that indeed there is a need for Gauteng to be declared a disaster. However, the following are the steps. So everything as that I explained now, it's an administrative process.
Yeah.
Where we are just being classified in according to the Act, Section 23, so to say, that the EXCO in Gauteng, the Executive Council of Gauteng, which then becomes a political process, so to say, will then have to look at the report before it, and then the Premier will then make a determination to declare the state of disaster. As matter stands now, we are just being classified as the province after the information that we submitted. The Premier or the EXCO has not yet pronounced itself on that particular issue.
Yeah, okay. So a state of disaster, in essence, has yet to be declared then, but it is the intention to declare Gauteng a disaster area. Am I correct?
You are correct, Toli, because what we did as a department, after this, we then have to make a decision. What is it that we want to do? We then realized that we can be able to fix the damages on a number of those properties and so on. And to that extent, quantify in terms of rent and cents the extent of a damage, submit it to the National Disaster Center. From where we are, when we go to Executive Council, we are going to motivate to the Premier and our colleagues in the Executive Council the need to declare Gauteng as the disaster area, province. How is that going to help us? It is going to help us to, one, ensure that we mobilize and put together resources that are required to intervene. Secondly, it's going to enable us to then access certain grants at a national level that will assist the province to, amongst others, fix houses of people that have been damaged, fix the roads that have been damaged. In this regard, you will recall the bridge that is in Hendrik Potgieter that is causing a lot of inconvenience, and other such damages that has happened as a result of those floods.
All right. MEC, I need to speed the conversation up a little bit. If your officials have gone around, as you mentioned, for example, the bridge on Hendrik Potgieter, how much then has been quantified as a result of this disaster? What is it that the Gauteng province is looking at in terms of trying to rebuild?
The figures that have been submitted in the National Disaster Management Center as we talk, it's about 486 million rands. That is the total of the money that we are looking at, given the quantification. And I must say that the national disaster, they had a responsibility to verify the information that was presented to them, and to that extent they've been able to verify the information and came to a conclusion that indeed we are correct, and that is the figures that we are working on.
Okay, so 456 million is the amount?
486 million.
Oh, 486 million. All right.
Sure.
Where is that money going to come from? Is it money that is allocated to Gauteng from national disaster, or is it money that is going to come out of Gauteng's coffers?
The process is such that once the Premier and the Executive Council decides to declare the province, all state of organs in Gauteng will be pulled together for them to contribute towards this figure. That is number one. Number two, as I said, this then will open a way for us to go to national government and then access quite a number of grants that can be able to help us in situations like this. So it will be funded by both the province and the national government as such.
All right. MEC, I've got to let you go, but I can't do that without asking about whether or not you are concerned about the state of municipalities. 3 metros seem to be in trouble, well, at least 2 here in Gauteng, Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni. What is your stance when you see the instability that is playing out?
I think the first thing is that we are very concerned of not only the stability of the metros, but the general performance of our metro municipalities. We will know that historically we had problems in our districts, that is the Western District Municipality and City District Municipality, insofar as even matters that relate to audit outcomes are concerned. Now we are seeing a regression from municipalities, even on matters such as payment of ESCOM. I mean, Ekurhuleni, for instance, has never owned ESCOM. They've been paying their accounts on ESCOM, but we are seeing them regressing as it is now. Tshwane has regressed quite a lot on that issue of payment of ESCOM, and not only on payment of ESCOM, the outcome of the audit, a matter that we will in due course engage the media, where we would be expressing our views insofar as the issue of Tshwane is concerned. We are seeing Johannesburg also joining that, and we are worried that if our metros are going to regress, then we are in trouble insofar as local government is concerned in the province. Therefore, even the issues that are happening now in municipalities are of a source of concern to us. We mentioned the other time when we spoke to media that we want to work towards the stability of the municipality.
So, but for stability, let me interrupt you there, MEC, because I'm out of time.
Yeah.
But for stability to be achieved, do you agree that there needs to be a way to legislate for these coalitions? Because at the moment, there is no law governing these coalitions, unless I'm completely wrong.
Okay, that's a point that I was going to. We've got to find a way in which we regulate these particular coalitions. As matter stands, it all depends on political parties in councils. And we have initiated that particular process wherein we want to look at what are the options that we can effect that will help us to ensure that these coalitions are properly regulated and they serve the best interest of our people in the province. Because, truth be told, we are living in an era of coalition. It does appear that these coalitions are going to be with us for quite some time, and therefore we have to act accordingly.
Khumalo is MEC for Cogta in Gauteng. Thank you very much for your time.